Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and today I want to stop you from making a massive mistake with your Conquest currency. This is something that I've known for I feel like I've known this for a long time, and a lot of your old heads will tell you they know this, but for a lot of you getting into hard mode Conquest, and with this Jocasta new event that we had where we got these bonus shards, it's left me flush with some Conquest currency that normally is not an issue. And I just said like Conquest, I don't know, that was freaking weird. Normally I just sit here and I will say I buy the signal data. I think this signal data is the best value for, especially because I can't get it anywhere else, so I like to buy the signal data. But I still have 1,600 currency to spend, and I was looking at the ways to do it, and I want to share with you how I would spend it. And a lot of you buying Conquest Pass are probably in this place, and I hope you've not been making this mistake. So with that said, please like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. I want to give a huge shout out to my channel members for them putting up with me yawning. We'll talk about that, why I was yawning in videos, and you guys they understand, they get it. I love you guys so much for, supporting me through that and understanding that I have a full-time job on top of running a mediocre YouTube channel. Like, that's what I do. I really appreciate you guys, whether it's the, support from the channel membership or just like being there to be like, hey Phil, I really like your stuff. Thank you for helping me. It means the world, guys. I thrive on that, positive criticism. So thank you again. Let's get in here. Let's talk about this Conquest mistake that I hope you're not making. All right. So with your Conquest currency, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is you've got all this extra currency and you're like, oh, what should I buy with it? And you go in here to Sector 5 and you're like, hey, I can get some impulse detectors. Or you go into Sector 4 and you're like, hey, you know what? I can get impulse detectors and I can get Zimbiddle cards. That sounds like a really good deal. Like, I can't get those anywhere else, right? Do not. You want to avoid buying any relic materials inside of Conquest. And I'm going to show you the math on a couple of them to show you just how you are getting completely screwed if you buy the relic materials rather than the salvage theirself. That is the biggest thing here. So let me just go to the screen capture here. Got to make sure it's on the right page. Yep, there we go. All right, so this is my relic farming guide, and I'm going to move the fat face. We'll probably just leave it there for now. I think the fat face is fine where it is. I will link this in the video description down below. I created this a while ago, and it's a very good guide. It kind of walks you through every single piece here. There's a lot of data. I'll cover this again. I want to make sure I cover this every once in a while. But I want to skip over here to impulse detectors. So in Conquest, this is a mega avoid. You're going to pay 207 Conquest currency per piece. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'll zoom in. Right? 207, per piece here. Right? You can get 20, you're going to get 10 of them, spend 2,070, 207 per piece. If you come down here, you can get 15 salvage pieces for 180 currency. To put that into perspective, right? It costs you can do 12, you get 12 points towards an impulse detector for every single salvage piece. And you're going to get 15 of them. So you have a scrap rate of 12 multiplied by 15 of these salvage pieces that you're going to buy with your Conquest currency. That is 1.6, about a little over 1.5 impulse detectors earned with this Conquest currency through these salvage pieces. So your cost per piece is 110, right? Because it's 180 currency that you spent, right? 60 and 120 because the 180 divided by the 1.6 impulse detectors you're going to earn comes down to a cost of 110. That's almost half of what it's going to cost you just to outright buy those impulse detectors. Now, to be fair, you are going to get way more impulse detectors with this than just buying one of these. However, you can do this with 3 pieces, right? There's the bayonet piece here, but if you scroll back up, remember, you can scrap this piece over here and this piece down here. So now what you're going to do is say, all right, well, I can do this every Conquest. I can do this 3 times. So now you're at 5 pieces, almost 5 impulse detectors, over, call it, and again, you're just going to do the 180 times 3. So with 540 currency, you're going to net almost 5 impulse detectors every single conquest. That's way cheaper than spending 1,000, right? Again, it's almost half of what it would be. Then, just to give you, think about doing that every conquest for a year. $6,000 currency to get 60 impulse detectors. If you spend 6,000 currency, you're going to get 30 here. It is so much better for you to just buy the salvage pieces here. I cannot stress that enough. The salvage pieces are the way to go. Now, let's also take a look at your Zimbiddle cards. It's a similar situation. It's going to cost you 140 conquest currency per piece, right? If you do the 840 by 6, you do any of these divided by the number, you're going to get 140 per piece. If you go to your salvage here, it's going to cost you 225 conquest currency to get 15. But your salvage rate for these is 18 now, right? It's 18. And it's going to take 90 of these points to craft a single Zimbiddle card. So if you do that math, you take the, all right, it's a salvage rate of 18. I earned 15 salvage pieces. That's going to net me 3 Zimbiddle cards. At a cost per piece of 60, right? You're going to do the, sorry. It's not going to be quite that. It's 225. My bad. I forgot to change the math here. See? On the fly. There we go. 75 per piece. Versus, again, almost half. And think, you can do this 3 times. So now, you do this 3 times. Okay, now I'm earning 9 Zimbiddle cards from Conquest, having spent, what? Do the, this. Oops. Times 9. 675 currency. I mean, that's a steal. That's every conquest, and you do that 12 times a year. Now, that's a huge savings. Comparative to this, that's so much cheaper. You're saving yourself so much currency to be able to break out into more. And then think about your Gyrda keypads. You can't even buy these in Conquest, right? If I go to, hey, I want to get Kylo Ren to, Relic 9. Let's find some Gyrda keypads. They're not available in Conquest. They are not available in Conquest. You cannot get them in Conquest. But I can, and again, I got to update the math here. Apologies. I can buy them at 195, Conquest points per Gyrda keypad. I'll take that. Right? I will gladly spend, I can't even get these, but I can buy the salvage. So if you go through this and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do the, 225 conquest currency 3 times, so equals 225 times 3. And then you're going to do that again, right, for the Zimbiddle cards. And then you're going to do 180, equals 180 times 3. That is 1,800 conquest points. You're still going to have conquest currency left over to spend on other things. Now, you're going to buy Jocasta shards. You might be buying signal data. But if you buy the Conquest Pass, here you go. I'd be focusing on, buying the, Gyrda keypads and impulse detectors because of how expensive they are, right? This is the mistake I feel players make, is they just go and they're like, yeah, I'm going to buy the relic materials, not thinking that you can buy all of these salvage and make massive strides on your account over the period of time that you're playing Conquest. I know a lot of you old heads know this, but I think for many of you in that earlier part of the game, that's not something that comes straight to mind. And I'm sure that conversion rate works for all the other relic materials that are sold here, but I think the bigger ones being those 3 big pieces, because Conquest is one of those where, hey, I'm going to earn, I'm not even getting, getting the bigger pieces is far more important to a lot of us than getting some of the smaller ones, because the smaller ones, there's far more economical ways to do that. You can get a lot further with that. But imagine that you're able to, if you go back to the guide here on your impulse detectors. And of course, my picture's not showing what the hell. There it is. Imagine that, hey, you know what? Every year, I'm going to do this, 3 times, and I'm going to do it 12 times a year. 60 impulse detectors. every year out of Conquest. That's a lot that you don't have to buy with your raid currency, that you don't have to buy with your, crystals, that you don't have to scrap, and, that you're just scrapping for these, that you're not having to do anything else for. That is massive. So if you ever buy that Conquest Pass, you're wondering what to do, definitely buy the salvage. It's so much better and will allow you to be much more efficient with your resources. So I hope this helps. I hope this makes sense. Please like and subscribe. And if you're still watching, right, I want to address the yawning in my videos. And I'm going to reference a very great TV show in Ted Lasso. And in Ted Lasso, there's a scene where he's like, there's a quote from Walt Whitman. Be curious, not judgmental. And he goes into this talking about why you ask the question and not judge. And, maybe ask the question, Phil, why are you yawning? And I'd tell you that I have a full-time job. I have a wife. I have kids. I have pets. And that my content creation sometimes has to wait until everybody's asleep because I'd rather spend time with them while they're awake than trying to make a Star Wars Galaxy of Fears video, which means that that's going to happen later at night. And if I want to live stream, that's going to happen later at night, and I've got to stay up later and then try to get a video done. I also could tell you that we're trying to wean my youngest from nursing. And that means me waking up at 4 a.m. some days because she's up for the day and she's upset and she wants a snack and she's hungry and she's thirsty. And I'm getting up with her at 4 a.m. So be curious, not judgmental. I love you guys. I appreciate your support so much. Thank you again for everything. Wampa is king in the comments. Y'all know the drill. You're the real ones. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.